and welcome back to the 2 by 2 the podcast for independent consultants and fractional executives, and all things like that. I'm your host, Lauren Wamble Patel, and today I am joined by an awesome builder, founder, and I think a real gift to women who are entrepreneurs or thinking about it, Sudeshna Sen. She's the founder of Pionyr and comes from a long corporate career, both in venture capital and strategy. So, Sudeshna, thanks for joining today.
Thanks for having me, Lauren. It's wonderful to be here.
Yeah, I think I don't normally like to start these conversations chronologically or with people's stories, but I think in this case, it is helpful to get some context on your background and where you came from, because you can see the learnings in what you've learned in your career being applied now, both in the business you founded and in your missions in service of other female entrepreneurs. So take me back to the history of Sudesh and the corporate career that you have escaped.
Absolutely, Lauren. So, in terms of my background, I spent 20 plus years in corporate. So I started as an analyst, and then I worked my way up to being exec VP for one of the top three global advertising companies, and I was heading data tech analytics. So it was 20 years of a lot of going through the corporate engine, climbing my way up. While I was doing corporate, the last few years I started getting plugged into the startup ecosystem as an investor, as a mentor. Also tried building a few things of my own, which didn't really work as well when you are in a full-time corporate gig, but I think that experience and what I was going through in my corporate life transformed me as a person and gave me that courage that I needed to leap into entrepreneurship and leave corporate behind. But it has been an incredible career. But right now, as a founder, it's been extremely fulfilling experience.
Did it feel risky when you left? Like, take me to the moment of like, am I going to do this? Like, what was I guess I have a lot of questions. Was it risky did it feel risky, or what was the moment? I want to know both. What was the moment at which take us to that moment when you made the decision? And I'll tell you mine. I've told it on the podcast before, but I think it's like we all have our great stories about this. What was yours?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question, Lauren. I wouldn't say that it was a moment per se. It was sort of a slow reckoning. And it took me years to get to that point. What I think what I realized over the course of the last few years is as I was listening more and more to myself and how I was really feeling. So while from outside in, if you look at my corporate career, it looks great on paper, great title, great responsibilities. I had an amazing team. I was doing great, but I just felt so overwhelmed in the sense that, always tired, really tired with all the travel, with everything that was going on, really no agency over my calendar. There's this huge amount of exhaustion. And it took me years to really understand that I'm exhausted. And the second thing was getting stereotyped a certain way. So when you're in corporate career, based on your past experiences, you are stereotyped. Like they think that you are only right for this particular role or this particular sort of, a set of responsibilities. And I felt like, I felt suffocated. I felt exhausted. And I believe it was always there, but I wasn't paying attention to myself because I was so much in the flow. But what changed in the last 2-3 years of my corporate, I started listening more and more to myself and realized that, is this really what I want to do? Because here I am, everything looks great for a person looking outside in, but internally I feel hollow with all my success. I just don't feel that. I think there's so much more I can do, and I wasn't feeling fulfilled. And that's where I started it started giving me the courage to move on and take that leap of faith into entrepreneurship, something that I saw closely as an outsider, as I was a mentor and investor, but really something that excited me.
When you left, did you know you were going to start something, or did you leave and in your journey to figure it out, that became the obvious answer?
That's a great question. I knew, but I actually tried starting something when I was still in my corporate side, at least ideation stage and trying to get to the MVP. So I had I had a little bit of an early beginning. And so by the time I left, I was more, I sort of had a better idea that this is what I want to do because I had done the market research and
Okay.
realized there's a huge untapped space where I and my strengths can play a huge role. That's in lifting women founders. So when I left, it was still an idea stage, I would say, Lauren, but I knew what I wanted to do.
Yeah. Okay. So this gets back to my idea of risk mitigation. You had somewhat covered that because you're an analytical person. You were leading analytics, right, and intelligence, right? You had gone through your natural emotions to understand the environment, the market, to risk mitigate a bit. Okay.
Totally.
I got a left field question for you.
Yes.
Were there any signs of this as your career path when you were a child?
Such an amazing question. Signs of when I was a child, I mean, I was naturally very curious. I was naturally, curious to learn and curious to try different things out. So I would say the sense of curiosity and learning was always within me. I just got, I guess, directed in a certain way based on, the experiences of people around me. My parents thought it would make more sense for me to try the engineering path. And I felt that it would work finally in the way I wanted to go. But I feel I took a lot of left and right turns before I got to where I wanted to be, which is create and build something of my own. So I think the curiosity trait was always there. I just and wanting to build stuff for my own is just that it took me time to get there to have the courage to do something myself.
Yeah. So I have interviewed a lot of people on this podcast about, and I've come to ask these same questions every time. Finding a few patterns. Patterns are so consultants by and large were all curious children. Yes. And I can tell you for myself, like 100%. They say like what brings you joy when you're 9 or 10 is what will bring you joy throughout your life. And you think about what were the thing I really enjoyed doing. For me, there was this thing called Odyssey of the Mind, and it was this like, she's shaking her head if you're not watching, which was this like nerd Olympics basically, where you would be given this like very open-ended problem to solve. And as a part of that solution, you had to build something. And this for me was like the most fun thing to do, to think through what the real problem was you were solving and anyway, like that's the exact same thing I do today. It's like, I just love to break apart a problem. Now, I love to work with people like you that can actually build something. Like, I'm not truly a builder, I'm a problem deconstructor, but that trait became very obvious. We've had other people who built like what I'll call real businesses, as in they make something or sell something or provide like a consumer type of service. They all had stands selling something outside their house as children. Like every single one of them, and like scrappy ways of doing things, like collecting the golf balls out of the pond across from, just like the random stuff. So I think like it's a real indication of looking back on let me say this. I think it's a real way to find clarity as an adult. For
Oh,
if you're
yeah.
thinking this is the career, brought you joy at that point? And is this aligned to that same thing?
No, it just such you're onto something here, Lauren. I think that I feel that at times, you become like a child when you are an entrepreneur. You're because you are. I think what brought me joy as a child, exactly like what you said, building something, selling something of my own, like being sort of, asking, just being in that the feeling of high when something that you've built is meaningful to others and people are buying it and are using it. I think some of that which I had forgotten
Mm-hmm.
um
Mm.
through all the as I was navigating corporate, I feel that I've come back to that the childlike curiosity that I had before and the courage that I had. I feel like I've somehow along the way I started leaning more towards comfort over courage. And when you are comfortable, I think in some respects, for me, I stopped really being curious, stopped really learning or being that, having that learner's mindset. And I feel I'm back to that. I got back to my old childhood where these were so important to me and this brought me joy.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so cool. We were at dinner the other night. We have a friend who's an entrepreneur visiting with us for a couple of days. And my husband also is an entrepreneur. So it's three of us. And all of us were, and what do you do all day?" Somebody asked. I think it was like my son or my son
Mhm.
had we were talking about it. "What do you do all day?" All 3 of us said, "Whatever I want," right? And it's not whatever I want. Like, I'm super structured. I have a sauna, I got a team. Like, I know what
Yes.
I'm doing tomorrow. I know what I'm doing 2 weeks from now, but it feels like whatever I want because I don't do things in the service of the system. I do things in the
Oh,
service of what I
totally.
think is the right thing to do for our business, for our clients, for our consultants, for me and the family, etcetera. So,
I think that's the thing. I love what you said, Lauren, that you're not in service of the system. Think that and that is so meaningful to me because I think that we get shaped in some respects by the society, by the system, and then we realize how stifled we are. And that's what my feeling was. As a I got stifled and suffocated in some respects by sort of the system that is set in a certain way for it to work. And now that I've broken out of the system, I feel so free. And I think that's the biggest feeling, that I can do whatever I want very intentionally, building my company the way I want, when I want, and how I want.
okay, so yes to all of that, but let's acknowledge that when you first leave the system, the freedom doesn't feel the same yet, right? There's a path you have to go through
Yes.
to get to that. In fact, that system gave you structure, it gave you
Yes.
identity, it gave you meaning, it gave you purpose in some sense. Now, maybe you weren't necessarily aligned to that, maybe some of it you were, but when you woke up every morning, you knew what to do. So
Yes.
what happens when then that first period, all of a sudden the structure is gone, the people are gone?
Yes.
Did
Yes.
you feel like what was it for you? Like, did you feel lonely or did you feel like lack of knowing what action to take first? Like, what was the gut reaction for you?
Yeah, that's such an amazing question. I think I think the biggest change for me is that since I had been in corporate for so long, my sense of identity, my sense of self worth was tied to this corporate image because I've lived that life for so long. So when I did not have that, when I left, I felt at for a few months the lack of structure, the lack of having that corporate identity felt like a crisis. That, what, who am I?
Wait,
Right?
okay, wait, I'm going to interrupt you. Did you take a break or did you jump right into something?
I should have taken a longer. I took a little bit of a break. I wish I'd taken a longer break, Lauren, reflecting back. But I think it's just the corporate in me. Like, you can't take that part of me. I'm so used to structure, always doing and always, always being busy. So, I, despite wanting to take a break, and I did really want to take a break before I jump into entrepreneurship, I just couldn't because I've become a certain way. But I did take a lot of I mean, I did decide to build slowly. I didn't want to rush into something, but I think that slowness helped me because I myself had to do a lot of inner work because, as I said, there was this genuine identity shift, and it took me some time for that to sink in, that what, I now have to build a new identity from ground up. I now need to Nobody will set the structure for me. I need to set the structure for myself. So it was a huge change.
So when I left BCG, I took 1 week before I started my job. And that I always ask the people that coming out, like I know a lot of the alums, and when the new ones come up to me, I'm like, did you get sick? Like, did you physically fall ill? And a lot of them do. And I did. I got sick, like just little things, like colds and sinus infection, like nothing major, but for about 3 months, I got sick. The adrenaline of like constant stress all of a sudden going away. It's like your body is susceptible without that adrenaline buffering your systems. So I had only taken a week and I got sick a bunch. And so when I left, I was at Dell for 4 years after, and I left Dell. And I left Dell on my own choice. And I was really lucky. They had a voluntary severance when they went private in 2013, 2014. And so I took a voluntary severance. Which mean I had a cash buffer. So I wasn't like worried about I was like, I've got a runway of a year. I can finally take a break because I hadn't taken a break since I was 12 years old, and this was in my mid 30s. I took a break. I took 6 full months off. And the thing that I think saved me was that this is when we were getting married. And so I had a project. It was like I
Yes.
didn't the poor wedding planners had to deal with me, like, coming off of that job, like, and the whole business, and then I like, all my energy was, like, to these 4 hours, these poor women. But because of that, I really did take a break and, like, not came back and just, started one thing after another and just sort of figured it out. But, no, I think it's, really hard for people that when you come off of this, you feel, I don't maybe unsupported or kind of listless, but it sounds like you dove in. Is there a pattern that you see with your founders and Pioneer?
When they leave their jobs, you
Yeah.
mean to take on? I think the pattern that I see, Lauren, is similar in the sense that, I see a lot of I see a lot of anxiety, to be honest, in the sense that, you know, when you have a job, you know that there's a regular paycheck. All of a sudden, you're on your own, no paycheck. Either you're bootstrapping or you have to raise capital. So they feel immense amount of pressure. And the pattern I see is that rushing through things.
Mm.
How can I move fast? I need to get this done faster. And I feel that take on a lot of burden emotionally, financially, trying to make inroads faster. And unfortunately, I think that leads to, again, same thing like you, a huge amount of burnout. And so it's pretty common for many founders. I would have gone that route as well. I just held myself. But the reason for me is that it took me years to make the decision. It wasn't like a sort of, it was a very thought through decision. But despite that, I felt some anxiety. But many of these founders make, much quicker decisions, and therefore they go through that first 3 to 6 months is a lot of turmoil.
Do you see any correlation between their ability to move from startup to scale and their success from this initial anxiety and need to move quickly? Are they
Yeah,
like,
I
does
think
the end justify the means?
I think so. I think that it's a part of the process, Lauren.
Okay.
It's like you have to accept the reality that, you are into something where you don't know what you don't know. And uncertainty is the name of the game. So accepting that reality takes time. And everyone has a different way of dealing with it. So every founder goes through that. Ultimately, I feel that they find themselves in the right mental space.
I want to go back to speaking of the middle space. I want to go back to something you said earlier about you said something really interesting, which was you were building with intention.
Hmm.
Like, what does that mean to you? And tell us about how that looks different than what the rest of us are doing, like crazy people.
Well, I hope that I am building with intention, Lauren. So of course there are days I feel I could do better. I think building with intention is um really sort of uh, really like diving, like moving forward with a lot of curiosity um and building slow, because you have to really think through every step forward. Do a lot of active listening. You just don't build for the heck of building or heck of moving fast. So it's saying no to shiny objects. It's
That's
saying no
so
to a lot of
hard.
opportunities. Yeah, so like a lot of opportunities will come your way, which can sidetrack you. I mean, I got a lot of opportunities. I got even offers from other companies to join me with similar roles, and even in senior roles. So I had to say no. Really set my heart to say, what, I've made a decision, I have to stick with it.
Yeah.
So those shiny things that came my way, new opportunities, new roles, I had to say no to that, so that I can build this. Because this is where my true calling is. So I think it was, in the beginning, it wasn't easy saying no, and opening myself, and to being vulnerable in every sense of the way.
Has being intentional do you think that's helped you ultimately land on a stronger product?
Yes, 100%.
Yeah.
I think, the product that I've built right now, I mean, it's a founder network,
Yeah.
but at the end of the day, it is a product. It's a product in the sense that, it's the network offers, how I offer, what it stands for, and what's valuable to my members, what's the true value unlock. It didn't come to me on day one. In fact, even like it took me years to get to this point. I really sort of, instead of building what I wanted, I just took a step back. Like, what do my members want? Where are they getting value? Like, what are those unlocks? What are those moments of inflection where Pioneer can really help them that nobody else can? So things like all of that came by building very slowly and really listening and leading with their feedback.
All of your listening, what have you found is truly valuable for female entrepreneurs specifically?
Yeah, so female entrepreneurs, I think, to put it really simply, Lauren, is that I think we women entrepreneurs need a space where they truly feel safe to be themselves, to be truly vulnerable, and to be truly, be open to being honest that I don't know how to move forward. Or, you know what, I don't know what I don't know, and not be judged, and rather being given the support, the hands-on support that they need to move forward. I think that's what women entrepreneurs need. I feel that women founders are over mentored. They have
Yeah.
so many people mentoring. I saw this even in as a corporate. Like women execs are over mentored, under-sponsored. And I
That's
see
right.
something similar here in the founder space. We have all these ecosystems built to advise and advise and advise. But what women really need is somebody who's really there for them where things are falling apart. Somebody they can really trust, who will give them that help, the support to help them move forward at the moment then things are breaking apart. And that's what they don't have. Like, despite all these ecosystems and stuff that's been built, I feel like women founders still find themselves extremely alone in the journey.
This makes sense too if you connect the dots between the start of the journey and feeling the natural feelings of being alone, loneliness, not knowing what to do. And then you play that out till you have some success. And then you get to this critical moment where you're in the midst of scaling and there's no one there to catch you. And I wonder too, like I think about this. So first of all, this completely resonates with me. Here's the deal. My business is like very cash flow happy. It's bootstrapped. I don't have anyone telling me what to do. There's no investors. Because of that, there's also no board. And so
Yes.
there's no one for me to ask anything to. Not that I would ask because it's just like not my nature, but, um, it's kind of designed by like, I don't need to go to some board and tell them what I'm doing. But I also don't have anyone there and there's no broader ecosystem around it. And I wonder, like, is that because there's just not enough women that came before us or which I don't think there are, especially I'm in Texas, like there's just not, my business school class was 23% women and this was 20 years ago, right? Like it's not that far in the past. And that if you are a successful female entrepreneur, like how much time do you really have? Like even if I say like, this is super important to me and I'm going to spend as much time as I can, I could truly only spend an hour a month. 2 hours
Right.
a month. And that's
Right.
not enough with the number of us that there are to like make anything happen. I looked, just case in point, last year we made the Inc. 5000 list, fastest growing privately held.
Congratulations, Lauren. That's
By the way, like
huge.
everyone in your network should, I think the revenue size has to be over 1 million, but like really that's not that much. And it's based on growth rate over a 3-year period. So if you're over 50%, you're over 40, like you should probably apply.
Yeah.
But anyway, I looked and there were 17 of the 5,000 companies were based in Austin. And of the 17, I think there were 2 or 3 female CEOs, right? Right. And one's me. So like, I can't ask them, I can get anything out of staring in the mirror. Yeah, it's just like law of small numbers and then the ability to get back in time and without having others well represented in the ecosystem. So let's talk about the funding ecosystem. Let's talk about the
Yeah.
attorneys. And those systems also, especially in places like Texas, not well represented by women, right? Like there's 2 or 3 well-known kind of female founders here. Like they don't have time
Yes.
for the thousands of women. So it's tough because you go into a room and there's nobody there but you and one other person, and you probably already
Yes.
know her. Yeah. So that's why I think these groups can be so powerful for people too, because so just for full disclosure, I'm not a member of Pionyr, probably because of my need to like never be vulnerable, but I am a member of Chief, which is a female executive group. And for me, the value that I get out of Chief is simply knowing that and being able to walk into a room of other people who are truly like you, not look like you, doesn't matter what you look like, but think like you
Yes.
is like the most powerful confidence builder you can have. Not only because I mean, for me, why it's so valuable is because I know that they all are gonna keep, it's like they understand the problems, they understand the background, they have the exact same thing.
Yes.
So they also, I know each of them has a vulnerability just like me. And all of a sudden,
Yes.
we don't all have to pretend it's not there. Or we all kind of like to do the same things. We can get involved in that curious conversation. Whereas when you're with another group of women that wasn't a professional group, they may look at you sideways and wonder why you like Odyssey of the Mind, Like, so anyway,
100%.
I think it's super valuable to have these groups of support. It's super cool. So, have there been any good success stories yet that have, I mean, I know you're only a few years in, but like, and it takes a long time to build, but any like cool success stories amongst your founder groups?
I mean, I think it's not the way I think of success is very different now,
Right.
Lauren. So for me, success, like I think there are a lot of success stories. I think, I've seen founders who were willing to give it up because they weren't getting the capital that they need to
Okay.
raise to finally, to stay with it despite all the ups and downs, and now having, an incredible sort of path forward with, attracting investors. I think success. I've seen that success quite a few times. I've seen success where some founders exited in the sense that their company got acquired. It wasn't an easy exit, but that happened because that's took several months. So that's a success for me.
Okay.
I've also seen success where, they this is very common. I've seen quite a few founders had to pivot on their idea quite a bit because it wasn't sticking, or they weren't getting the customers that they wanted, or stickier customers. And after multiple pivots, something stuck.
Yes,
And
that's it. A pivot is like, how many times have I pivoted in 12 years? Maybe it
yes,
doesn't look
yes,
like it. Maybe it does not appear as a strong pivot externally, but I can tell you there have been big pivots in what we've done. That is just
right.
part of the
That's part of exactly. So that's another one. In fact, I can tell you a recent story. This founder, don't want to take names. She is building this incredible, stylist app, and a lot of VCs sort of, kind of put her on the back burner because this huge competition in the marketplace, and she wasn't getting, she was doing a lot of outreach, and she wasn't getting anywhere. And then we, through the community, a lot of conversations, we discussed, why don't you start local? Try, go door to door, in the
yeah,
stores
go
around your
build it,
area.
right? We build
Yes.
it.
Yes, you can. And guess what? She went door to door in the first week, Lauren. It's unbelievable. 4 stores decided to sign up, and her product is not cheap. It's 10,000 a year license. 4 stores said, you know what? I'm willing to.
That's amazing.
Yes. So she's like, wow, that completely changed her playbook. And she now is like, if she can really scale this locally, she doesn't need to depend on VC money. She can, in fact, VCs will come to her
Well,
at some
and
point.
when she does need it, she's going to
Yes,
retain so much more of the equity, right? Like this is okay.
exactly.
So I'm gonna soapbox this. Okay, here's this. We're getting it out. Soapbox. Founders, stop going to VCs first. This is ridiculous. Like you saw Silicon Valley, you heard about the money, and you think you can get some. And it should be the path of like last option, which should be to find VC money. Absolutely last. Why? Lauren's rules. Number one, they're going to take everything from you. You're not going to own it anymore. They're going to have all the control. Two, the first seed rounds or Series A, they're not trying to scale you. They're not trying to get you to 1 billion. They're just trying to get to Series C to cash out.
Yes.
Like, why? Like, if you took these simple actions, like doing something incredibly uncomfortable, going in to the store, asking for the manager and seeing if your product really worked, you might find, right, through enough trial and error of this, that you find the path that works. And once you have cash flow, all of a sudden, your life, your business, your option set becomes wildly different. So
Oh,
that's an amazing story. That's a great learning. I hope the other
that is that one. And I see this quite a bit, Lauren. Like if you just shift your focus to going after customers, VCs
yes.
will, you don't have to run after VCs if that's what you want to do. VCs will come after you. So invest your time like really wisely. Because as you said, founders, you have so much on our plate. So where do you want to invest the time? On these conversations with VCs, or conversations with customers, and secure that customer revenue?
Yeah. The pivot should always be, so if you put the customer and the pain that you resolve for that customer at the center of every decision, and you then make decisions based on that, you will pivot. That's natural. You're going to pivot around
Right.
that problem a million times. But if you remain true to that, and that's a real pain point, then you will be successful. I think it's a much better way to target of the bullseye. For us, so again, our business is different,
Right.
services business. But for me, the most important thing we do and our mission is to help our clients get promoted. Like that is my North Star. Or I'll say achieve whatever professional goal that they want. Not everybody wants to get promoted. Some people want to work 40 hours a week and go home to their kids. That's cool. We'll help you with that too. But whatever that personal value is for them, that is what we are here to deliver. It is only named management consulting or commercialization strategy in the guise of helping you make money. But what we're really doing is helping you achieve a goal by helping you do your job better. And we'll solve whatever problem you want to solve. That's it. And that has resonated. That has worked. That's why we've been doing this a decade. It's why I never have to go back and get a job because we've put people in their pain at the center of what we do every day. That's great.
I love that, Lauren. I think that is the key. Like you have built your business around helping people at its most simplest.
At its most simplest, that's what we do.
That's what you're helping people, and you're really like it's that I think what I see is that so many founders are running after so many different things. Yeah, they go to tons of mixers and networking events. I'm not saying that they might not they do not work. You have a finite time, and in these networking events it's like finding a needle in a haystack, and you make a lot of surface level connections. It looks like you achieved a lot, but really if you look at it, when you really need help, there's no one, because you didn't build the depth of connection. You went into it in a and build surface level connections.
Yeah.
So even when you help others, when you give others, and when you get back, you build the relationship that you build is so much deeper, and that person is there for you when you need them.
That's absolutely true. I have other questions, but I think that's such an important point. I think I'm just going to leave it there. I think there's nothing else you can teach us today. You've taught us the golden rules. So, Sudeshna, this is super important. I think what you do is really valuable. Can you please tell people where they can find you and learn more?
Absolutely. So you can find me at joinpioneer.com, and feel free, if you are an entrepreneur who's recently jumped ship in sorry if you're a corporate exec who's jumped ship into entrepreneurship, or if you are an early stage entrepreneur. Our community is built to support women founders, to support them with hands-on support, with accountability, with tools and partnerships and connections and introductions that you need to grow and scale. So you can find me there, and also you can find me on LinkedIn.
So, spellings here: Joinpiyonyr is the spelling of pioneer. And Sudeshna is her last name is Sen, Sudeshna Sen. So this is great. As always, it's lovely to talk to you. Thanks so much for joining today.
Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure being